Welcome everyone to this very special edition of IBN News. I'm Charity Heimerman. It was July 1997, and a smoldering West Texas town is where this story begins. Her name was Louetta Hawkins. A woman whose wisdom was far beyond her age came to tell a story. A true story about the naming of a witness and the beginnings of two brothers prophesied to do a work. Yisrael and Yaakov are undoubtedly two of the most important figures in the Bible and are known as the two witnesses spoken of throughout the Holy Scriptures. For centuries, Bible scholars have been searching for the truth behind these two men and have all come up empty. However, IBN News was recently invited to a place that holds the truth and the details to this biblical prophecy that has been revealed. Tonight we begin our broadcast with an invitation that we recently received, an invitation back to the house of Yahweh. On our visit we met with some individuals who carry with them history, but not just any history. They carry with them the very details of the beginning of a remarkable work, a work that prophecy shows would be the greatest work that would ever take place on the face of the earth. So, Ganaja, I'd like to ask you first, what was it like to meet Yaakov's wife?
Well, Israel called me and asked me if I would pick her up at the bus station. So it was around 1 or 2, so I went over there and I was waiting, and the bus pulled up, so I got out of the car and I was waiting for her to come out of the bus. And everybody came out of the bus and she was like close to being last. And finally, when I saw her, it was, you could tell it was Louetta, you know, and I just walked up to her and I said, "You are Louetta?" She goes, "Yes." And right at that moment, she just was so cheerful, you know, and she just was comfortable looking, you know, and just so at home. And she was just such a bubbly person and such a sweetheart. Very easy to talk to, yeah, very easy to relate to in any situation, and whatever you had, you know, a problem with, you know, it's like she was just great about doing it, you know. It's like her luggage or something like that. Everything just flowed really nicely, and I brought her out to here at the double wide, and she was just a wonderful person. I don't know what else to say about her, because it just wraps it right up.
So how about you, Amaria? What was it like to meet Yaakov's wife?
Well, I got to meet her more on the phone, because she would call the house of Yahweh a lot. And so when I finally got to meet her physically, it was exciting. I mean, like Ganaja said, she was very bubbly, spoke very quickly. You could tell she was a feisty woman, so she was full of a lot of history. So.
What about you, Mathea, when your first meeting with Louetta? What was it like for you to meet her?
I was excited because Pastor was mentioning her on the podium, that his brother Jacob's wife was here with us. And it was on the Sabbath, and she sat between me and Ganasia. And after that, we were invited to come here and visit with her that afternoon. That was my first time to see Jacob's wife, correct.
So, Tanya, I understand that you actually had an earlier experience with meeting Louetta. What was that like for you?
Well, the first time I'm meeting her, she looked just older. She didn't change very much. The first time meeting her, I'm not really sure how old I was, but it was when they had the first meeting on the back patio that Pastor talked about when he held the services, and his brother and her came, and I just remember things stand out in my mind with Pastor when he acts a certain way, because he's very calm in situations. He's very, he's Pastor. But in certain situations, he acts a little different. And in these situations, he was excited and he was nervous. And I remember the first time meeting her, him and Kay, his wife at the time, they were running around. They were making sure all the meals were done and having everything ready and prepped because his brother Yaakov was coming. And that was a big deal to us children because we had heard all the stories but never met the man. And when they came, they were all dressed in white. He had the long white beard and what you would expect to see coming from Israel at that time. And she was very polite and quiet, but you could tell she was feisty. There were certain things she didn't want to eat. And it was just a very exciting time because it was dedication of the house of Yahweh, that land, that area, not realizing that you're seeing history take place right in front of your eyes. And then later on, coming here again to meet her, she's a little bit older, more raspy voice, a little shaky, still had the feisty attitude. Her and Pastor bantered back and forth, which was really funny to see. You could tell they had known each other for a very long time, and she was very comfortable here with us. I think, if I remember right, she even made a comment about a long distance family. So to her, we were her long distance family. So that was a great thing to be a part of.
What was it like for you to actually sit here and talk with this woman who knew so much about prophecy? I mean, without even really saying that this is prophecy, but knowing that these are prophecies being fulfilled.
One thing I remember, she was telling us the story about the house that they live in. It was just a little house, and yet 10 people fit in that house. And to me, it was wonderful to hear what the overseer went through as a young boy, as a young teenager, and yet he's very strong in the words of Yahweh. And to me, that is so wonderful.
I just like how she confirmed. I mean, Pastor tells us, he told us about his brother. He told us about how they had the same likes and their zeal and desire for the Bible and for Yahweh. And to hear his wife tell those stories and tell those things about him, it was like you were hearing the same. It was like seeing Pastor, because he has that same zeal, that same desire, and you can see how Yahweh put them together. I mean, this perfect match of these two witnesses witnessing these things, even though they might have been miles apart for a time. It was amazing how prophecy was right there, not even realizing it at the time, but we were witnessing prophecy take place. Even with this woman who was she was telling us what took place with him and the name change. We would have never known that. And the way that she told it, it was so vivid to stick in our minds even to now. I mean, you can see her body, language, and hear the raspiness of her voice. And she was a tiny thing, but she was like you said, a feisty one. And she had a lot of spirit, and I know that she kept contact with the house of Yahweh up until her death, even after her son came, and which there's others who can testify to that.
To me, she was like a testimony of all of the prophecies that she confirmed about Israel and Yaakov. You couldn't deny it. It was just like black and white. There it is.
What I liked is that though it had been many, many years, she sat in the front row. She was there in services. She heard that sermon that day, and he talked about his brother. He talked about them being the two witnesses. He talked about all those things. And then as we sat around, they discussed even some of the stuff that she said, that he had said in the sermon. They discussed it. And she knew that her husband was one of the two witnesses. You know that she knew it. She said it.
how I understand that afternoon when she was telling us the story, that it was a very close-knit family. Loretta was a friend of the family. Her family was a friend of pastor's family. And that's how Loretta and Kohan Yaakov got married. And by the way, Loretta was telling us the story that afternoon I could see the closeness of the family, that she is close with them. Even the brother, I remember she was telling about Margaret, pastor's older sister, and she was a friend of Loretta. And so the way the story was being told, I can see that it was a close-knit family. And it's a beautiful relationship. I think that's what they have.
You know, I've heard people saying, or rumors about that Yaakov and his brother weren't seeing eye to eye and didn't get along and all these things. And just from the stories that she told us and the conversations that they had, you could feel the love coming off from her for her husband's brother, and that connection that they both had together as the witnesses, and to see that in play and to hear her say those things. Anyone who would ever say that they were separated never met them.
I feel like she was inspired by Yahweh without her even knowing it to just come here and to tell Israel the story about like the conductor wanting to throw Yaakov off the train. If he didn't have a name, if he didn't give it right away or something, so that's under stress or duress that he had to do it. But so it's like prophecy. I just was like shocked, because it's right in Scripture and it just fits it to a T, everything that occurred. But I then, when she went back and then she died, so it had to be like Yahweh's motivating her, or inspiring her to come here. Why else would she come? I have no idea.
The confirmation of the life of Yisrael and Yaakov was plain to see. The love and joy they both shared for the work of Yahweh was remarkable and strong. Luetta also reaffirmed that the naming of the witness Yisrael was nothing short of a miracle. And we wanted to see just how difficult it is for a baby to speak clearly, let alone say a name. So we sent out IBN News' Kim Kazjaka to find out.
The naming of Buffalo Bill Hawkins is a miracle in itself. Born to a couple in Oklahoma in 1934, he had a one-year-old brother at the time. Now, as his father and mother playfully asked the young child, "What would you name your brother?" Out of the young child's mouth came as clear as day, Buffalo Bill Hawkins. Now, up until this time, the child had only babbled a few words, yet he said the name Buffalo Bill so clear that everyone understood. Thinking that this must have come from a higher power, they decided to name the child Buffalo Bill Hawkins, starting the fulfillment of prophecy. IBN News decided to go out and talk to a few young children to get a better idea of how amazing this event really was. Okay, hi. So this is your son?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Nathaniel.
Nathaniel. And can you tell us how old he is?
He is 15 months.
15 months. Does he talk much?
Not really, just a couple words.
Yes. Would you do something for us?
Sure.
Would you ask him what he would name that puppy?
I can try. Nathaniel, what would you name the puppy? What would you name the puppy? You see the dog? What would you give him a name?
Is that about how much he usually talks?
He usually makes a few sounds, but he doesn't say too much yet.
Yes, and that sounds about normal for a boy his age. So would it surprise you if he were to come out and say a word out of the blue really clear?
I would be quite surprised.
Yes, okay, so it seems like it would be quite a miracle. All right, well, thanks for your input, son. Let's try again. Hi there.
Hi.
This is your son?
Yes.
And how old is he?
He is 12 months.
12 months, just 1 year old. And he looks like a very bright and healthy 1-year-old?
He is.
Yes. And do you have many conversations with him?
We have conversations, but his is in baby talk.
And baby talk. Okay. Yes? Oh, I see, like that, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, great. Would you do something for us?
Yes.
Would you ask your son what he would name this puppy here?
Udiah, look at the puppy. What would you name the puppy? What would you name the puppy? No name?
Okay. So it looks like a little while before he might start actually speaking clearly in sentences. Okay. Okay, well, maybe we'll catch up with you in a few years and hear more from you? Yes? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So once again, you can see how truly amazing it would be for a 1-year-old child to name his brother Buffalo Bill Hawkins. Okay, well, maybe we'd get a better response if we double our odds. Twins! Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So these are your boys?
Yes, they are.
And they're twins?
Yes.
And looking at them, I'd say that they might be around 1 year of age. Is that
Yes,
correct?
they are.
Great. Do they talk much to each other?
To each other, yes. They have their own little language that they speak to each other with.
They do. Do they talk to you a lot?
Yes.
They do. They speak in clear sentences, or?
Occasionally, yes.
Occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you do something for us?
Sure.
Would you ask them what they would name that puppy?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Come here. Yeah, come on. You see the puppy? What would you name that puppy? Do you know what you would name that puppy? I guess that's the answer.
That's the answer. Okay, that sounds great. Well, what about the other one? Would you like to try him?
Right here. Nathaniel, look. What would you name your puppy? What would you name the puppy?
Okay. So you could see that it really would be quite amazing for a 1-year-old to speak the name Buffalo Bill.
Oh, yes. Quite amazing.
Great. All right. All right. Well, boys, thank you so much for your input. All right. Well, there you have it, out of the mouth of babes. In talking to these young children, it's plain to see that the naming of Buffalo Bill Hawkins by his 1-year-old brother is truly a miracle that needs to be recognized, coming from a higher power to fulfill a special plan. Reporting for IBN News, I'm Kim Kaziaka. Back to you, Charity.
Although many have tried to dispute the facts and make a mockery of these prophecies, the truth lies within the books. Just as the prophecy stated in Isaiah 49 says, "From the bowels of my mother I make mention of your name." Every woman we spoke to verified that what Louetta Hawkins stated about the naming of Yahweh's Last Days Witness was no coincidence, but was truly a miracle given by the Creator himself. For more information and the truth concerning the two witnesses, please contact the House of Yahweh at P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604, or visit their website at yahweh.com, or you can simply call them toll-free at 1-800-613-9494. And of course, for all calls outside of the United States, please call the number on your screen. IBN News will continue to keep you updated on this unfolding story. We want to thank you for watching. On behalf of all of us here at IBN News, I'm Charity Heimerman.